Hi, this is Kira Foreman doing my therapy video for CBT, McGrath. So during the first session, I did an assessment of the client John, who is a 30-year-old white male. John came in because of his depression and social anxiety. He had been previously diagnosed with both disorders, and I screened him again and found that he met the criteria for both. He did not meet the criteria for bipolar disorder, any other mood disorders, schizophrenia, or personality disorders. He had no history of substance abuse that he reported, and he had no homicidal ideation. He did have a history of suicidal ideation, but denied any current suicidality. He is currently taking Nardo, which he said has been improving his mood, but he still wants to come to therapy to improve his social skills and reduce his anxiety around people, interacting with people. I built rapport with him by asking him about his hobbies and what he likes to do, and he expressed that he enjoys both rock climbing and playing tennis. And I shared with him that I also like playing tennis, so we chatted about that for a little bit. I socialized him to the CBT model, and he said that this type of therapy is something that he would be open to. We talked about the use of homework, and I gave him his first homework assignment. I asked him to try to write down his thoughts and his emotions whenever he noticed a change in his mood. So if he became anxious or down, if he could write down the situation, the thought, and the emotion. In the second session, I hope to continue to build rapport with John, explore some of the thoughts that he recorded, and also, if time allows, create some coping cards with him. Hi, John. It's good to see you again. How are you?
Nice to see you too. I'm good. My parents, friends came over for Thanksgiving, and I felt kind of anxious though, so I kind of stayed in my room the whole time.
So you felt pretty anxious on Thanksgiving. Do you know your parents' friends well?
No, not really. They just became friends this past year.
Okay. Did your family cook dinner, or did they bring dinner over for you?
We cooked, but they brought over some things as well.
Okay, nice. We'll talk about your anxiety in just a minute. Is it okay if I ask you to fill out the anxiety inventory so we can see how your anxiety was throughout the week?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So it looks like you were pretty anxious throughout the week. Would you say that's true? You were anxious overall the week, not just on Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah, I guess, well, anytime I was around people at least.
Okay, so when you're around people. Okay, and you also filled out the depression inventory. Can I take a look?
Mm.
Thank you. So it looks like even though you were a bit more anxious this week, your mood was slightly less depressed than last time. Do you feel that's true?
Yeah, I felt a little bit better. I had a little more energy. I even went climbing one morning.
You did. Okay, nice. I'm happy to hear you were able to do something you enjoy. You said that you hadn't done that in a while. Can I ask you why you think your mood was a little bit better this week?
I don't know. I guess coming here, it's kind of giving me hope.
Okay. So you had the thought that maybe therapy will help a little, and that made you feel a bit better. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Can you see how your thinking has a positive effect on your mood? You thought something positive, which was therapy might help, felt a little bit better, a little more hopeful, and then that led to a change in your behavior, which was to go climbing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. I'm glad you felt a bit more hopeful this week. Did you have any thoughts of suicide, hurting yourself or others at all?
No.
And how many times this week were you able to take your medication?
Every day. Could be every day. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Any side effects or concerns that you want to talk about with me?
No side effects. It's fine.
Okay, good. Okay, John, next I'd like to talk with you about what problem or problems that you would like my help with working on today. As I mentioned last time, we'll always set the agenda. Since we, have limited time, I want to make sure that we focus on what's really important to you.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Thanksgiving really sucked. I just felt like such a loser, and that I just couldn't even relax in my own house, And I've tried, but Mary and Pete, my parents' friends, Mary and Pete, they just made me so uncomfortable. I couldn't think of what to talk about, and just felt like everything I said was just dumb. I felt so damn nervous.
Okay. That must have been pretty difficult for you,
Yeah.
I imagine. Yeah. It sounds like then one thing you'd like to work on this week would be your anxiety around people. Is that accurate? Should we add that to the agenda?
Yeah, we should add that to the agenda. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you were able to identify some of your thoughts in that situation and be aware that that was why you're feeling anxious. But sometimes it's hard to know why. So it's great that you were able to do that. Any other issues that you want to work on this week?
Yeah, well, I just want more friends. Like when I went climbing, I was alone, and like everything I do, I'm like alone.
So you feel pretty lonely sometimes.
I do a lot.
Okay. So making friends is also something you would like to add to the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you would like to add today?
Today, not really. No.
Okay. Anything else important that happened this week that I should know about?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I'd like to ask you, John, if anything positive happened this week. You mentioned that you went climbing. Anything else that made you feel a little bit good, a little bit better than before?
This week, yeah. One day I actually played tennis with my dad. Yeah, so that was cool.
Okay, wonderful. So it seems like doing active things kind of makes you feel a little bit better. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, I think so. Kind of like gets my mind off things.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Okay. Next, I'd like to go over the homework that we decided on last week. So you were going to try to write down some of your thoughts and feelings when you noticed a change in your body. If you became more anxious or down. How did that go for you, John?
I don't know. I don't know how good I did.
Well, that's okay. Remember, the homework is not being graded. It's not like we're in school.
Yeah.
It's just for us to get some useful information and find out what we need to work on in session. Could you read what you wrote down for me?
Sure. Thanksgiving, I noticed that I was feeling anxious and uncomfortable. I started thinking I'm awkward. I suck at making conversation, and no one wants me down here.
Okay. You did excellent at identifying your thoughts. So you were thinking, I'm awkward, I suck at making conversation, and no one wants me down here. So I'm glad that you were able to recognize that those were automatic thoughts. What did you notice about your emotions? How did this make you feel?
I felt really sad. I felt kind of down. It just sucked, I sat in my room all alone, like on Thanksgiving.
I can imagine why that would make you feel pretty down. I think that's a pretty natural feeling. Were there any other situations you jotted down? We're going to come back to Thanksgiving in a few minutes. Anything else?
Yeah, I went to the bar on Saturday night, and there was like this girl there, and I had a beer or two, and so I decided I'll try to get enough confidence to go talk to her.
Yeah, and what happened?
Well, I started feeling like really anxious, and like I was boring her, and like I had no chance with her whatsoever. I get like so nervous.
Okay, well that's natural to get somewhat nervous when talking to someone. What exact words would you say were going through your mind at the time when you were talking to her?
She probably thought I seemed anxious. She probably thinks I'm like weird. No, I'm not weird. She probably thinks I'm weird, and I like no chance in hell with this one.
Okay. So you were thinking, I seem anxious. She thinks I'm weird, and I have no chance in hell with this woman. Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
How did that make me feel? It made me feel like shit. Like kind of sad and down, and just like on Thanksgiving.
Okay. So how did you react? Did you stay at the bar or what happened?
Oh no! Right after I was done talking, I left like right away, and I went home to sleep.
Okay. So similar to Thanksgiving, you know, kind of have these thoughts. It made you feel pretty bad, and then your behavior was to kind of go in your room and isolate yourself.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, John, you did an excellent job recording your thoughts, and we're going to go over those in just a minute. Any other situations that you weren't able to record?
This week, no, those are like the two like main ones: Thanksgiving and then the bar. Those are like the two that they like have this week.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to prioritize the agenda. We have two things that you said you wanted to work on this week. The first was reducing your anxiety around people, and and the second one was making friends or having people to do things with. I wanted to prioritize these just because we only have a limited amount of time, and I want to make sure we check what is the most important one to you. So, in my opinion, it seems that in order for us to work on you making friends or having people to hang out with, we kind of need to address those feelings of anxiousness, because it seems that you're kind of having difficulty meeting new people because of some of those thoughts and some of the feelings after those thoughts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be okay with you if we work on the anxiousness around people first.
Yeah,
okay.
That would help a lot.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I guess that's like the main problem. I feel like if I can start talking to people and not being so anxious, that life will be so much better.
Okay. Okay. So I would like to explore with you a little bit more the two situations that you said were distressing. Thanksgiving and then at the bar. Can you tell me on a scale of 1 to 100 how sad or low that you felt on Thanksgiving after you went to your room?
Oh, like 100%. I just felt so sad because I couldn't even enjoy holiday with my family.
So pretty sad.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
All right. And what about when you left the bar after talking to the woman?
Probably like 90%.
Okay. So both situations were pretty distressing. What about now? Are they still bothering you?
Yeah, I still feel pretty bad about both. And I guess the bar wasn't as bad because it's like normal to be nervous. Talking to a pretty woman. But being in my own house, I shouldn't be that way.
Okay. So you thought it's normal to be, talking to someone, feel nervous. But in your house, that's not normal. You should. That's what you're saying? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you would like to talk about Thanksgiving probably more than the bar, and if we have time, we can talk about both. Is that okay?
Yeah, if there's time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so on Thanksgiving, you were with your mom and dad and their two friends, and you started to think, I'm awkward, I suck at making conversation, no one wants me down here. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. John, I'd like you to do a little exercise, visualization or imagery, they call it. And this is where you close your eyes and try to imagine that you're back in that situation. Would that be okay with you to do?
Close my eyes now.
Yeah. Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, on a scale of, you're going to pretend that you're in that situation, back on Thanksgiving, and you are trying to imagine how you are feeling. So on a scale of 1 to 100, John, can you tell me how much you believe each thought and how distressing each of these thoughts was? So let's start with I'm awkward. So you're downstairs, you're trying to make conversation, you think I'm awkward. What percentage would you say?
97.
97? Okay. And what about the thought I suck at making conversation? How distressing was that from 1 to 100?
95.
Okay, 95. Down to 97, 95.
Yeah.
And then finally, no one wants me down here. How did you feel?
Like 100%.
100. Okay, John, you can open your eyes. Were you able to imagine yourself in that situation a little bit?
Yeah.
It can be difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So all three thoughts were pretty believable and made you feel pretty bad. But the most distressing was the last one, it seems. No one wants me down here. Is that true? That was the most distressing you said?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was.
If you think about that thought now, is it still distressing?
Yeah.
100%?
Not 100%, probably like 98 or something.
And the other two, I'm awkward and I suck at making conversation.
I said it was like 97. I'd probably be like, still feel like 93.
93? Okay.
And the other one I said 90 before, I guess would be like 85 or something.
Okay. So it seems like the thought, no one wants me down here, is still the most distressing of the three. And if that's okay, this is the one I'd like to kind of start with and focus on. If we have more time, we can do the other two. But is that okay with you to start with that one, or would you prefer to go with one of the other two?
No, if you think that one, that makes sense. That sounds good.
Okay. So if you remember from our first session, we were talking about how our negative thoughts can lead us to feel a certain way, which then can lead us to act a certain way. But if we can learn to kind of challenge our thoughts and find evidence against those thoughts, we may not feel those emotions anymore. And in turn, we may change our behavior. So I'd like to do an activity where we challenge the thought, no one wants me down here. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to use what's called a thought change recorder.
Okay.
This has 5 columns, and we're going to work on this together, and I'll guide you through each step. Okay? All right. So the first column asks you to describe the actual event that led to the unpleasant emotions or thoughts. What was that event that we talked about that led you to think that thought that we're focusing on?
Thanksgiving. At my house.
Thanksgiving at my house. Just the Thanksgiving, or
talking to my parents' friends.
Okay, so let's write that down. Okay. So then we identified 3 automatic thoughts, but we're just going to focus on this one for now. What was that automatic thought that came to your mind?
Oh, nobody wants me down here.
Okay, let's write that down. Nobody wants me down here. And you said that your belief in that was 100%.
Yep.
So we're going to write 100%. And then what emotions did you identify you felt after that?
I was like really sad and really depressed.
Okay. So let's write sad and depressed. And how strong was your sadness and your depression? What percent would you say on 1 to 100?
Like for sad it was like 97%, and for depressed it was like 90%.
Okay. So 97 and 90, we'll write that down. Okay. So when you were down there with your mom and dad and their friends, and you started thinking, no one wants me down here, I'd like to ask John, what evidence did you have that was true? Was there something that kind of indicated to you that people didn't want you down there? What led you to maybe think that?
Oh, with my parents' friends.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they weren't making eye contact when I was talking to them,
Okay.
and then they kept on like looking at their watch.
Okay. Okay.
A couple times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, I've noticed that throughout the session, a few times you were not making eye contact with me. And I want to just ask, did that mean that you weren't listening or you weren't interested in the therapy and you wanted to go, or did it mean something else?
Oh no, I just sometimes just like try to like concentrate, or when I get in a zone, or when I'm trying to think about something, I kind of like sometimes I like to stare off or stare down or something. Yeah.
So, is it possible that your mom and dad's friends, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting their names, is it possible that they were just processing what you were saying, and that their lack of eye contact didn't mean they were uninterested, but in fact they were just thinking about what you were saying? Could that be possible?
It could be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can we write that down here? How would you put that in your own words?
No eye contact doesn't mean that. No eye contact doesn't mean that they're uninterested.
Yeah. So no eye contact doesn't equal uninterest. Could mean processing, thinking, right?
Yeah.
Even in some cultures that I've heard of, eye contact can be like a sign of disrespect. So, yeah. So how strongly do you believe that statement we just said? Do you believe it to be true?
90%.
90%? Okay. Let's write that down. All right. So you seem to be pretty believe that if someone's not making eye contact doesn't mean they're not interested or they don't want to talk to you. The second piece of evidence that you said that you thought people don't want me down here was that they were looking at their watch.
Mm-hmm.
So was it the wife or the husband?
The wife.
The wife. So she was checking her watch.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever done that in a conversation? Checked your watch?
Yeah.
You have.
Yeah.
Okay. And why were you checking it?
Well, like sometimes I'm super busy and like have a lot of meetings, so sometimes I'll talk to somebody and be like, oh, time it is, because not great.
So you're not necessarily looking at your watch because you're uninterested, but maybe you just are waiting for something to happen and you kind of want to see when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. I have like looked at it when I was like getting bored, but usually not that.
Okay. So sometimes it might be, but sometimes it might not be. In this situation, can you think of why the wife might have been looking at her watch? Was there anything that was going to be happening that she was waiting for?
Yeah, actually, my mom was still in the kitchen cooking Thanksgiving meal, and maybe she was thinking like, when I'm going to eat or something. Yeah.
Okay. So let's try to put that into words about the watch. How can we say that?
Someone looking at their watch doesn't mean that they're bored with you.
Yeah, that's perfect. Someone looking at their watch doesn't mean they're bored with you. She's probably like, when's this food gonna be ready? Let's eat. Is she? What did she make? Turkey? Alright. How strongly do you believe that statement, John?
70%.
And then finally, I want to ask, so these were some evidence against this, that nobody wants me down here. Or sorry, that for this. Nobody wants me down here, you thought, because no eye contact, looking at the watch.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else that you thought, nobody wants me down here? Okay. What about any evidence that showed that somebody or anybody did want you down there? Did you notice anything that happened that showed you that possibly they did want you down there?
No, I mean, when I was in my room, my mom ended up coming upstairs and knocking my door and trying to get me to come back down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she did come up. What did she say to you?
She was like, "Oh, I want you to just come downstairs. We have company, have dinner."
Yeah. Okay. So your mom coming to get you kind of indicated that someone did want you down there. Is that true to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she was like embarrassed that I wasn't there, or whatever, or mad, but she did like want me down there.
Okay. So you said in this thought, no one wants me down here, but now kind of we think maybe your mom.
Yeah.
Could we write that down? My mom might have wanted me down there.
Yeah.
And John, how strongly do you believe that your mom wanted you down there?
Oh, 100%. Because she came up and told me, she kind of like adamant about it. So like 100%. Yeah.
So she really wanted you down there.
Yeah.
Okay. So looking at these rational responses, I want to ask you, John, does that change at all the way you thought of that situation? So if you were back in your house on Thanksgiving, and when somebody, looked down or looked at their watch, instead of thinking, they're bored with me, they don't want me down here, would this have helped you to maybe think, okay, maybe they're processing what I'm saying, or they're waiting for the food?
Yeah.
Is that good? Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, how your emotions might have changed. So originally you said you were 97% sad and 90% depressed. Now, thinking about this rational response, how would you rate your sadness?
Oh, like 40%.
Wow. So that's really a big reduction.
Yeah.
And what about your depression right now?
Like 60%.
Okay. So you can see how your emotions change because of those thoughts. So when you changed your thoughts, you felt a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you were maybe back in that situation on Thanksgiving, and instead you were kind of just questioning your thoughts, so when that thought came, you didn't just immediately believe it, you decided to say, well, let me look at the evidence. How do you think your behavior might have changed? What might you have done differently?
Oh, I probably would have like stayed downstairs and like try talking to them more and not think that like when I was talking to them that they were like older than me, and I would have gone downstairs and then
Okay. Okay, John, I'm going to let you hold on to this because you're going to be able to keep that. We're going to use that for our homework when we go over it. So we only have a few minutes left, so I want us to be able to, begin to wrap up our session and start thinking of your homework. So was this helpful for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. Okay. Would you like to do it again, writing down your thoughts for next week?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if you can try to do that again, when you're in a situation and you notice a change in your body, write down what's the situation, what you're thinking, and how you're feeling. But this time I'd like you to try to use that thought change record and try to identify some evidence or the rational response to those thoughts. So something that's saying, that thought might not be true or accurate. If you can try, just go ahead and try. If you can't, that's okay. And we'll go over it next week. You think you can try that?
Sure.
And you also mentioned like you enjoyed the rock climbing and playing tennis with your dad. Do you think you could maybe try and do those activities one more time this week than you did last?
I mean, I think I could try. I could try.
Yeah? Okay. Can you think of anything specific you think might be difficult with the homework?
Well, like finding the energy to go climbing, it's just hard sometimes to get up.
I understand sometimes I don't have the energy to go to the gym after work. I'm sure climbing takes a good amount of energy. But it's important to remember that sometimes doing an activity that we don't feel like doing could actually give us more energy and we might actually feel better afterwards. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean I do, but sometimes like in the moment it's kind of hard to remember.
Okay. So you're right, it is in the moment sometimes hard to push ourselves and remember that. What if we wrote that down so that when you're feeling that, resistance to doing the activity, you can look at something and that might help you? Would that be okay to try?
Yeah, well, I guess I could write something down like when I'm feeling, like down. I could write that down.
Okay.
Like, when I'm just feeling like I don't have energy to go climbing, tell myself, that I always feel a little bit better after going than if I just stayed in bed.
Okay. So why don't we write that down? This is called a coping card, and we're going to use these throughout therapy that you can take home, and they help you, when you're thinking those kind of negative thoughts, they kind of help you to remember.
Write down that thought.
Let's say it, what you said again. You said, when I'm feeling
like I don't have that energy
to go climbing,
tell myself that I always feel
a little bit better
than staying in bed.
Okay. All right. So we're almost out of time, so I want to go ahead and summarize what we covered, and then I'll ask for your reaction to the session, okay? It sounds like you had some more hopeful thoughts this week and you felt a little bit less depressed, but your anxiety was pretty high because of your thoughts when you're interacting with your parents' friends and the woman at the bar. We used the thought recorder to challenge some of your thoughts, and you were able to identify some evidence against your thoughts. For homework, we decided that you would record your thoughts like last week, but also try the thought change recorder. And you're also going to try to play tennis and go climbing one more time this week than you did last week. And use the coping card that we made if you run into difficulty. Okay. What did you think about the session today, John? Was there anything that you that I said that bothered you or that I got wrong?
That you said? No, not really. No.
Okay. Anything else about the session that we could do differently next time?
Well, a friend of mine, she's a therapist too, and she was telling me that a therapist was teaching her like different breathing techniques.
Yeah.
So I thought, I don't know, that's something that maybe we could try next week.
Yeah. I definitely think that's an excellent idea. Breathing can really help us to calm down, especially in that type of situation where like that when you're trying to meet new people or yeah. So we'll definitely try that next week. Anything else, John? Any concerns or anything else you want to talk about?
No. Thank you.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you next week, John, and I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. In the next session, I will continue to work with John to identify his thoughts and challenge them with the thought change recorder. I will also begin identifying some cognitive errors, such as John saying that he shouldn't be that way in his house. He said that at the bar it was normal to feel kind of anxious, but at home it's not normal and he shouldn't do that. So we could challenge some of those cognitive errors, such as thinking should and shouldn't, and what's normal and what's abnormal. Excuse me. We will also work on in-session exposures and other coping skills. Eventually, John will be assigned some in vivo exposures. Finally, I would also like to explore some of John's core beliefs and how those developed. Most importantly, I hope to continue to build a strong therapeutic alliance with John and continue to work to reduce his anxiety and depression symptoms. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.